Right, Christmas. So one thing I've always found a bit strange about British Christmas traditions, especially with food, is mince pies. Recipes for mince pies never actually have mince in them, and everyone will go, oh, well, it used to have mince in, but that was more expensive, so they swapped it out for dried fruit and whatnot. But it even gets to the point where I have a historical recipe book which says, oh, a few generations ago it would have had actual beef or mince or ox tongue in it. 10 pages after it shows 2 mince recipes which don't include any meat in them, even though they're from the 1700s. Thankfully, after admittedly not a huge amount of research, I found that the English Heritage website includes a recipe from the 1590s, which is largely meat. And so I'm going to be trying that because I'm just curious to see, because for some reason I struggle to imagine an actual mince pie with mince in it working. So let's find out. Right, having now changed out of my Christmas jumper because it was hand knitted by my mother and I'm not going to cook in that, we'll start with the stuff. There's also water in the ingredients, but I'm not going to throw that onto the counter. So nowadays, of course, you'll get recipe books for everyone in the social landscape. But in those days, they were a rather fancier affair. When you're trying to make an argument to show, this is what my chef cooks me, that was more the thing. And by the way, my chef can read, and I assume your chef can read as well. It gets a bit more of that sort of vibe. So this 1590s recipe includes saffron, mace, rose water, things like that, which quite frankly I'm assuming that most people wouldn't have bothered with. Saffron seems a bizarre thing to put in mince pies, so I'm not going to do it. Just not going to put any of those in there. I think I actually have some rose water. In fact, that's rose water from the Blackpool Rock video way back when, so yeah, that's going to be old. We're starting off with the mince. They say to mince it because they're talking about assuming that you haven't bought it minced from a shop. The heathens! Okay, take the meat, mince it, done. Mix in the suet, spices, pepper, saffron and dried fruit. So, mix in the suet. They say ground cloves, I'm using granules. Deal with it. 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I have absolutely no idea how common black pepper would have been for the average family or individual 500 years ago. Maybe it was everywhere, maybe only the rich could afford it. Dunno. 150 grams of dried fruit. Nice. Just mix it together. That's what my attempt at the mince looks like. I'm not entirely convinced. It doesn't really look like it's mixed, but it's there now. How much flour do I need? I need 200 grams. Sift the flour. 224. That's close enough. Sift the flour and salt. Fine. 1 teaspoonful of salt. Heat the lard, water and milk until boiling and pour into the well. Oh, I didn't see that one coming. 75 millilitres of water and 30 millilitres of milk. Shall I microwave it? Yes. Can you, no, you can't see that, you can't see. Well then you can assume that I'm doing this properly rather than cheating. So, 50 grams of lard. Too much. 75 millilitres of water. And the light is in the way of the sink. And it's there we go. 30 millilitres of milk, which I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do. Do I assume it's about 30 grams? Yeah. I'm literally just going to assume that milk is going to be slightly heavier than water and go with slightly less than 30 grams. Because I know what I'm doing. Cool. I wonder what happens if I just boil this in a microwave. I might spare your eyes this. The one thing I've tried in the past is making masala chai in the microwave, and that is an objectively terrible idea. Because what happens is, especially if you're trying to be precise about just getting it to boil, you'll do a lot of stopping and starting with the microwave. But what that tends to do is get rid of all of the little bubbles and things that when water boils, or things boil, they nucleate around something. So there'll be like an air bubble somewhere in the liquid that bigger bubbles then form off. And if you keep doing it again and again and again, you sort of get rid of all of those. You end up effectively with superheated fluid that just means it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, then it's exploding all over the inside of your microwave. And I did that several times. I don't actually know if that's the science of it. I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, some of it's boiled. So yes, I saw it foaming up in about a second there, and thankfully grabbed it before it exploded. Sadly, the big lump of lard hadn't fully melted. Chuck it into the well in the centre of this, and then mix it together as quickly as I can to form a soft dough. Okay, quickly beat together with a spoon. It's sort of looking like that at the moment. I know when I do these sort of recipe ones, I know I don't do them particularly well because it doesn't feel like you can really see any of what's going on at any given point, which I'm assuming is not really how this is supposed to work. But I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think of my attempts at doing this? Are these camera angles bad and annoying? Are they actually fine and I'm making a problem out of something that isn't a problem? Do you quite frankly phased out? Are you really just listening to my dulcet tones and you really don't care what I'm doing? You just want to listen to my shining wit, as the old spoonerism said. So you missed a bit because my camera ran out of batteries, but it tells you to hack a quarter of the pastry off and put it covered until you need it later for the lid of the pies. Mould the larger piece of pastry to form the base and sides of a pie within an 8-inch diameter. Oh, this is actually a single mince pie. Hack the meat into the pie and dampen the edges of the pie wall. I might break from the ancient tradition and do it in the little round things. It actually says that historically they had them in squares. They were rectangular pies and it became associated with Jesus in the manger on Christmas morning. So I'm gonna have to make the same mistakes as I did with those apple cheesecakes a few weeks ago. Work for the apple pies to a degree, so I'll do the same thing here. Okay, we've now got some pretty hefty whatnots in the thingamy thing. So, on to the next what's it. Pack the meat into the pie and dampen the edges of the pie wall. Presumably I need to dampen the edges of the pie wall and then pack the meat into the pie. I'm assuming this is how cooking is done. Seems like quite a lot of meat to pack into this now. What I'll have to do is start off by putting what looks like the right amount of mince into each pie and then maybe force a bit more into each pie until I've used up all the mince. One advantage over those apple cheesecakes the other week is that the mince just kind of sits there. It doesn't ooze like the apple did. It's quite a lot spare. I think I'm just going to have like a sort of curiously flavoured burger this evening. I would dampen the edges of the pie wall, as in the top, so that when you place the lid down, I see. So yes, I now take the remaining pastry, flatten it out, and put it as lids on everything. That's how big the lids need to be. A quarter of the size, apparently. The fact that I hacked out a quarter for this purpose is anything to go by, which doesn't seem big enough to me. So here we go. We've got 9 mince pies with actual mince. So actual mince pies. Oh, they're not very well made. Some of these lids are sort of only attached by a sort of vague association. Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I decided to go with a sort of compromise with the oven setup because the original recipe says quarter of an hour high temperature, 220 degrees, and an hour and a quarter at low temperature. That sausage roll recipe was something made out of pastry and meat, but more similar in size, just said half an hour at 200. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do quarter of an hour at 220 and quarter of an hour at 200 because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really understand any of it. So if I do some weird unholy amalgamation of the two, hope for the best. Good luck, everyone. So what started the day as a mildest hint of a cold has become, you know, that stage where you seem okay, but every joint in your body aches for no reason and your brain feels like it's constantly being pushed sideways. That is where I am now. I also, while cooking these, worrying that I had undercooked them as a result, overcompensated, so now they're potentially both burnt and underdone. But this is a mince pie. I mean, sort of. By the sounds of it, they used to be rectangular, and they actually, by the sounds of it, used to be a full-on dish. But it's got actual mincemeat. It's got the right recipe for mincemeat minus saffron, because why? In conclusion, this is sort of, in some ways, a more historically accurate mince pie. Is it any good? Yes. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have to remember this. The sort of mixed dried fruit and things do add a lot, actually, like a lot of flavour to it. It was a richer, warmer flavour. Big fan. Big fan. I hope you've enjoyed this. Like and subscribe, share this with your friends, comment something inaudible. Have a day. Merry Christmas and God bless.